Developing tonight, California lawmakers proposing legislation that would require parents to vaccinate all school children unless a child's health would be in danger. California, you may recall, is ground zero in the recent measles outbreak. The issue's been all over the headlines this week, not only for health concerns, but political reasons, after a pair of potential 2016 candidates weighed in on a parent's right to choose whether or not to vaccinate. My next guest is urging all parents to immunize their children. He, too, is a potential Republican presidential candidate. Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal is a Republican who has extensive experience in the healthcare industry, previously serving as Assistant Secretary for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Governor, good to see you tonight. And so let me start with this, because this is one of the items that made a lot of news this week. Rand Paul said the following.
I've heard of many tragic cases of walking, talking, normal children who wound up with profound mental disorders after vaccines.
Do you agree with that?
I don't. And first of all, Megan, thank you for having me on. Thank you also for your courage to speak out and encourage every parent to have every child vaccinated. Look, I don't think our elected leaders, I don't think political leaders should be undermining people's confidence in their doctors and what's settled science. I'm glad that all three of my children are vaccinated. I'm glad that they go to schools where they mandate that all the other children are vaccinated. I think that's just good not only for our children, it's also good for public health. We don't need political leaders, Democrats or Republicans, by the way, trying to confuse this issue.
Does this become a sticky issue for Republicans, as some have claimed, because Republicans tend to be the party of small government? They don't really like Big Brother getting involved in people's lives, and yet here are so many saying that this is an area where they should be controlling.
Well, look, Megan, you've got President Obama and Hillary Clinton. They've said, nuanced and different things about vaccines. They've flip-flopped. They've changed their minds. You've got Democrats and Republicans who've said various things about vaccines. To me, this is just common sense. It's no surprise to me the liberal media would be hypocritical. They'd attack Republicans, not Democrats, who said similar things, including our current president and Secretary Clinton, who wants to be president. It's not surprising to me the left denies science, denies truth. They've done it when it comes to the environment, when it comes to energy.
Well, they say the right is doing it on climate change.
Well, they deny math when it comes to the debt and taxes. No, but look, on energy and the environment, it's the left denying the science and the truth. But the bottom line here is this shouldn't be controversial. This is pretty straightforward. Vaccines have been proven to be safe. They can not only protect our children from deadly diseases, they help to protect the public at large. This should just be common. This shouldn't be a political football, and we need politicians to stop confusing the issues. Stop trying to undermine people's confidence. If you have any doubts, listen to your pediatrician, not to a politician. Why would in the world would you want to listen to a political figure? Not to Jenny McCarthy? You
mean you're not taking advice for your children from a former Playboy model? That's not where you go to find out what's good for your child?
I don't listen to her about vaccines or pretty much probably much about anything else when it comes to raising my children. No, absolutely not.
In her defense and in defense of those politicians who had a different position back in 2008 or whenever it was, even back then, that study that started in England, that started all this nonsense, had not officially been retracted. That was retracted in 2010. So, but in today's day and age, is there any excuse for any of these politicians to be saying anything other than there is no linkage between vaccines and autism?
Look, the science has proven that vaccines are safe. I would encourage every parent to get every child vaccinated. It's not only good for your own children, it's also good for public health. And now we're seeing the outbreaks of measles. We had some outbreaks of whooping cough before that. You're seeing diseases that we thought we had eliminated from the United States making a recurrence. That's not good for anybody. And so
now I got to let you go because they're wrapping me, so I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to get this in.
That's okay.
Because obviously you are on the list of potential presidential candidates on the GOP side, but you are at the bottom of the list when it comes to the polling thus far. I mean, it's, I guess it's relatively early, but, look at Jeb Bush. He's got 15% so far, and you're down there at 3%. If you decide to run, how would you turn that around?
Well, Megan, if I do decide to run, it won't be based on polls or fundraising or political consultants. I think America wants leaders who are going to tell them the truth, who are going to be honest, who have the courage to do that. We don't have that in Washington today. A couple of weeks ago, I gave a speech in London about the threat of radical Muslim terrorists. By the way, words this president doesn't like to use. Talked about the need for assimilation and integration for those who want to immigrate into our country. I was called a racist. I was called anti-Muslim by the liberal media. That's not true. But we need leaders who have the courage to tell the voters the truth, whether it's the threat of radical Islam, whether it's Obamacare taking over our health care, whether it's $18 trillion of debt. We need leaders willing to tell the truth. By the way, this week, it wasn't just Democrats. I went after Republicans who don't want to repeal all of the Obamacare taxes.
I read that. Governor Jindal, good to see you, sir.
Thank you for having me. And thank you again for speaking out on vaccines.
You bet. I don't know. My own view of it is more public figures need to be honest about the fact that most of us have vaccinated our children, because all that's out there is Jenny McCarthy, your kid's going to get autism. And it's just, the science just doesn't support it.